You told people to stop taking fentanyl and go back to crack.
Crack. I'm promoting it.
You're promoting crack.
Fuck that. Fentanyl killing all the junkies who been junkies. I'm talking, it's killing the junkies who been junkies for forever.
Yes.
Soon as they hit it, they dead.
Right.
Crackhead, this nigga shoot threes, this nigga shoot basketball, this nigga run 100 miles, this nigga can sing, this nigga fix your car motor, been doing this for 20 years. This motherfucker still running around the neighborhood. When have you ever heard crackheads hitting the pipe and dying the first time?
Never.
Never. This fentanyl shit is different. I would much rather crack.
Hello and welcome to the Hypertrophy Odyssey, chapter 335. It is the first day of the week, aka the Kamehameha workout. I'm feeling very good right now. Very excited for this workout. And also very excited for the subject matter, because today's subject matter is a continuation of a previous subject matter, the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And today we will be looking at drugs. Don't do them. The main reason why is because I feel like drugs are probably going to be one of the downfalls of society. Now, we are going to discuss all drugs of all sorts, all right? We are going to talk about those who are on one side that are always vilified, as well as the newer ones that are now should be vilified. I think that a lot of people understand this inherently, that drugs aren't good most of the time. Obviously, there are drugs that are there in order to save lives and to cure people, of course. Those are not the ones that we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about ones that can be used and abused. And this includes stuff like weed, because a lot of people like to say, oh, you can't be addicted to weed. That is horseshit. Maybe 90s weed you might not have been able to get addicted to. Today's weed is not the same, not even close. So we're going to go into the discussion, generally speaking, of all the drugs that are probably affecting the world currently, not even just not even just going into each and every single individual one, but all of them, trying to look at them individually, because there will be episodes where I'll do stuff about weed and maybe a couple others, some psychedelics I've already talked about in a couple episodes, I feel like. So I'm going to just discuss it and why this is one of the terrible things that's probably happening in the world. Besides the idea that some kids are literally going on prescribed speed here. I'm looking at you, Adderall, which I will never forget. I'll tell that story. I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again, which is I remember my friend got a Adderall pill from a bartender once while we were out and about, and he was pretty drunk. Like, we were like 9 beers deep. He decided to take this Adderall. That man was the most sober man I had ever seen in my life at that moment. I was shocked at how it literally snapped him straight immediately. He was totally fine. And that was something I had never seen or witnessed in my life ever before. And that really put the power of Adderall, which doctors prescribe it, fucking kids get it, really does describe how powerful that shit is. And it's kind of scary because, like I said before, we're giving it to like 10-year-olds because our education system sucks, but that's a whole other discussion for a whole other day. For now, I'll just say we're going to be discussing a lot of the drugs and the problems that come along with them. I don't know how I feel about the entire legalization of all of them, because they will just be abused to all hell. So, with that being said, we'll discuss more about that and look at all of them and kind of explain why I feel like this is an issue, specifically each and every single one of them. Obviously, there are some that are pretty obvious in their issues, but still, I would like to discuss it and how the greater cultural impacts that they have are unfortunately there, regardless of what culture you are or what subsect or culture you're a part of. They seem to be permeated throughout, depending, of course, but most of them have permeated through each and every single type of culture. So we'll talk about that and a few other things when we get to Mother Base.
Alright, so started this day off with dips. But anyways, back to the main subject matter for today. The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse Part 2. Drugs. So, when I'm talking about drugs, I'm talking about the majority of drugs. Not necessarily every single one, but a good chunk of them, even those that are technically meant for you to get yourself better, because sometimes they don't do that. Or there's the off chance that, hey, there's a whole controversy happening about it right now because of Tylenol and how pregnant women shouldn't be drinking that. But hey, that's for Harvard to worry about. And Stacy on TikTok should definitely just take those. But anyways, back to the other drugs. I'm talking about also as well the hardcore drugs, of course, in which case, you know, we're talking about coke, meth, crack, fentanyl, weed, alcohol, all of those synthetic opioids, all of those are all layering upon each other in causing this massive amounts of issues. You really don't have to go very far in order to find these things devastating areas. I mean, fentanyl and parts of Philadelphia have literally just been shut down because of how much fentanyl use is happening in that area. There is literally a thing called fent bent. You know what I mean? Crackheads are a type of person. Meth heads are another type of person. All of these types of people are known as people. Stoners, another one. It's just all of these things are all included. And I'm also including as well medical drugs like Oxycontin or Percocets or things like that, where Xanax, people will use and abuse them to fulfill or to numb themselves from whatever ailments they have in the reality of the world, not even necessarily just what's ailing their body, because of course there are certain people that understand pain and don't understand pain. Some people have low levels of pain all the time, but I think this is just becoming an epidemic as those types of people kind of peter into all parts of society because they're from everywhere. It doesn't matter what type of person you are. When it comes to money wise, I think there are low level drugs, and as you grow higher and higher, they get worse and worse in a weird way, but then they peter off to becoming the final boss, which is like cocaine or like designer pharmaceuticals or something like that. It's very interesting to see it all play out. And I think that that is an issue because no matter what happens here, I think everybody can get it. And it sucks because even if you are literally dead broke, there are stories of people who are literally on the streets somehow obtaining their way to any of or all of these drugs. I'm also including alcohol in here because alcohol is just as bad as a lot of these other things. I'm going to lump it in here as an issue. How many Hispanic people, 12 beers deep, have become nuclear missiles on the road because they're drunk? I mean, that's just a normal statistic now at this point, which is terrible, but it happens. The main reason why I have this as one of the issues is because we're kind of stuck with these things. I don't think that there is really a way out of it. The legalization of all of them would be a dumb idea for a lot of different reasons. One, we would just probably make things 10 times worse. We are already doing that with certain pills like Adderall, but we'll get to that in a second. I think that this would be too much of a opening to that point where not only would Pandora's box open, but you know some idiot kids are going to be doing fentanyl at like 12 or something like that. And it's just going to be a bad time. No matter how much you regulate something like this, it's just impossible to make sure that the people that want to do it are doing it correctly, which is, it's a belief that is enwrapped in people being altruistically good, which is impossible. So that's why it will never be able to work. It works in theory, but it won't work because people are evil. No matter how hard you try to eliminate that, whether it be through demographics or whatever other things you could do, it's impossible to make sure that every single person is a good actor who's doing drugs. But then again, like I've said before, when you're saying good actor doing drugs, it's very rare where somebody would be a quote good actor, you know, and that's very, very weird because these things kind of compound on themselves. A way to think of it like this is the fact that Adderall is something that we prescribed to children in the sense that they need it because they cannot focus, quote unquote. But in reality, more so likely than not, they cannot focus because what you are producing in front of them is realistically and honest to God boring and stupid, so they can see past through it, and thus they have to get something that is literally basically like low grade speed in order for them to concentrate heavily on something, which starts the cycle of them relying on multiple types of drugs, whether it be they get it from the doctor or from the streets. Regardless, they're going to try to rely on something else and thus create a never-ending cycle for certain people. And that's why I feel like even if you were to legalize something like this, it starts from such a back beginning, it doesn't even matter. They're already going into this weird cycle. And I think there's more to do with trying to solve the monotony and the pain of regular life that should probably come first before the actual drugging of people. And I think that that would probably solve a good chunk of people's ideals as to why they are doing the drugs in the first place. How many times do you hear people say, I do it to feel something. I do it to fill a void. I do it because I'm trying to do something with my life. I want to feel good. Why do they have to rely on these things? Because there's no real other systems that are set up in place to make sure, hey, you can live a good life doing these other things that are actually good for you. Obviously, of course, we'll get into the idea of overdoing it on a lot of stuff. But a lot of the times when these people go into one of these things, they do lead to each other. They go from one to another and hop in and honestly combine themselves with each other. That makes it worse. That's where we have the entire laced epidemic, where we have weed that is completely different from the 1950s to now because it's been laced with so many things and producing higher and higher levels of THC and higher concentrations, to the point where now it's nothing like it once was. And now it's like overpoweringly like a psychedelic almost, to a point where it's causing people's brains to go haywire as soon as they take it. Plus the idea that any of this shit could be laced because you don't necessarily know the exact people that are taking care of these things. You're looking at a recipe for disaster immediately. But this is now a problem that is compounding upon itself, really. I mean, hell, the amount of times that you can hear that cocaine-laced marijuana has become a thing, as well as fentanyl-laced things, which, you know, people are literally dying. That clip at the beginning, although it's supposed to be funny, is crazy that it's even a thing that somebody could say that crack is technically better, and he is technically right in the sense that you can hit it twice and you can live. This fentanyl shit is truly too much, and it's crazy because people will just kind of be like, we gotta just deal with it, and that's it. They don't actually try to offer a solution, and I really don't know what the solution is. That's why I would like for this type of stuff to at least be talked about, because realistically, we have to figure out something eventually, because it's going to keep trickling down and making things worse and worse. It doesn't matter where you are in the socioeconomic ladder. It doesn't matter. You're going to be hit by it regardless. It's just a matter of how hard are you going to be hit by it.
And we're back. Welcome to the workout debriefing. Exercises not filmed, none. Exercises skipped, also none. Got everything in, thankfully. As you can see here, I'm doing this in a little bit of a different spot than usual, and that is because people are asleep upstairs. But anyways, back to the main subject matter at hand here. The four horsemen of the apocalypse, or what's probably going to help lead to society's end. Drugs. Part one, really, drugs. This was just a general overview about drugs. I'm lumping in alcohol in there because, well, let's be real here. I've probably already talked about it, but alcohol is an issue on its own. But I think that these things, when combined and compounded with a few other things, like, let's say, people south of the border making an entire empire based upon these things, but yet we're not really allowed to do anything about it, and their government doesn't really want to do anything about it, so it's kind of fucked in that sense. And then you have a whole bunch of other issues that arise from having all these drugs in the US and in people's lives, really. There are no places that you can get away from it. I think that each place, no matter where you are, like, it's funny because even in the body, like, the poster child here would be the bodybuilding world because, you know, obviously, like, steroids and whatnot, those are drugs. People who don't think they are drugs are stupid, but they are, and other things like that, very much into the use and the abuse of it, you know, and it's kind of hard to eliminate that entirely from this because of the fact that it's so intertwined with it. It's kind of annoying, but that's not the only niche that has to deal with it. You have all these different things. You have anime people who love to be stoned while watching anime. You have people who watch shows and TV shows all the time. Meth and fentanyl. I mean, there's just a bunch of different subsects that all have to deal with different things. That's a Metal Gear poster, and I bet you there are people who pop Adderall right before fighting game competition all the fucking time, probably, and probably do some extra stuff. I mean, the sniff, sniff, snort, snort, you know, that stuff. You know, it's just kind of interesting to see it permeate all throughout business, life, and in general, people's lives. And I think that there's such an over-reliance upon it that people don't even know what to do without it. It's kind of crazy that we've come to the point now where the creative outlets are based upon the mind alteration of the world because of drugs and not from anything that they have in creativity in their brain. It's like they need it to unlock it. But if you need it to unlock it, did you ever really have it in the first place? Really? You know what I mean? It all just depends. And I'm not going to sit here and say that there aren't things that aren't made whilst on the influence of drugs that aren't necessarily cool. That happens. But also, if you can't do it without it, then we got a little bit of an issue, right? Are you truly an artist, or is the art just being controlled through you, you know? It depends, really, right? You got to think about it. But for some reason, people don't like to think about it, and that's a whole other story for a whole other day. But for this one, I'll say this. I think that the more that these types of things permeate throughout society and make it so that they are basically the only way people can get through certain things, make it so they become a roadblock to basically anything, really, because they might alter the mind in some way, shape, or fashion, either slowly over time or immediately over time, where they get it to the point where they are addicted either way. It's just dependent on what they are. A pot smoker that smokes for 20 years straight is a completely different person from when they started. I don't care what you say or whatever, like, statistics you might have against it. They are not the same person. Now, sure, you might not be the same person that you would have been 20 years, obviously, without smoking, of course. But the difference is that these things have shaped you so much and have become integrated into you that you cannot escape from them. No one just stops smoking pot. No one just stops doing these types of things. And they sink their teeth into you and pull you in. Now, there are people, of course, who get better from drugs. Those are great people. That's understandable. But even they'll tell you that the underbelly of it is fucked and it's hard to stay away from it. Whether you, let's say, get better from something like a sniff, sniff, snort, snort addiction, but you all of a sudden replace it later in life with some type of like a pill addiction or something like that. You've just exchanged it for something else, you know? I get it in a sense that life isn't necessarily that easy, but also it's going to be one of those things that will forever be a crutch there until something happens to it. I'm not a believer in legalizing all of it because it will go to hell immediately in a handbasket. We see how it is already when things are already illegal. I don't understand how it will get any better. Realistically, it's probably not, because realistically people are going to still abuse it and use it in different ways, because regardless of whether it's legal or not, people who are already doing it are going to want to do it anyway. See crackheads. Bunch of issues there by legalizing it. So it's one of those things that I don't think that we'll ever really get away from. I don't think that there is any way, shape, or form of getting away from it. And that's why I lead it into one of these things as being the apocalypse. What is it? One of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Really just there. What are we going to do about it? No one knows, and nobody's going to figure it out. We're just fucked. If anybody has a good idea of what to do to make it better, please let me know in the comments in the comment section down below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about this one, because this is truly an open-ended question, because realistically, it's such a broad and open topic, but nobody really wants to actually try to figure out what can happen. And if anybody also says that, you know, they point to, let's say, a country that legalized it, let's look at the demographics. But anyways, with that being said, tell me what you think in the comment section down below, and your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about this one. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video with anybody who may or may not like it. I will be back on tomorrow with a new video. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please stay safe out there. Take care. Keep it heavy, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.